Hello, everyone. I'm Baron Avi out of Fear and I'm a Paragon warrior.
Hello, I'm Baronet Haraldr Door Smasher, Paragon Warrior out of the Ever Living Woods.
I'm Renn Kenobi, a up-and-coming warrior from Fear and I.
Welcome to the 8th episode of V8 Warrior Discussions, the level 5 warrior ability, Shake It Off. So, let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. I wear 6-point plate. There's nothing I can't tank. At least that's what people say. Because those casters gonna cast. They got that icy blast. Gotta run real fast. Just gonna shake it off. Shake it off. Shake it off.
Good God.
All right, got that out of the way before we got into the actual meat of the episode.
I had to do the backup. Ooh. I just had to.
Yeah, everyone. That's Avi and the Shields for your all your singing needs.
All right. No, in all seriousness, Shake It Off is Warrior's level 5 ability. It is a verbal of the spirit school with a range of self. The incantation is, I shall overcome. Just have to say that one time. 3 words, 4 syllables. It's great. With the effect of Shake It Off may be activated at any time the player is alive, even while the player would otherwise be prevented from activating abilities by stun, suppressed, or similar. 10 seconds after activating Shake It Off, the player may remove from themselves one state or effect of their choice which was present at the time they activated the ability. You get this once per refresh, and charge times 3. So, in plain English, what this does is, if you get hit with stopped, frozen, stunned, or something like that, you pop, or you say, I shall overcome, and 10 seconds later, you get to remove one of those effects from you. In my opinion, this is one of Warrior's best abilities. It's great. Great anti-caster tool, and if you recall last month, killing casters is a large part of what Warrior has to learn how to do effectively. So, what are you guys' thoughts on this?
I really enjoy Shake It Off. Of course, I'm sure we'll get into the meat of it. I have a lot of issue of choosing when is the best time to use it.
Right, you absolutely have to prioritize different states, and there are ups and downs with even that.
Well, let's go ahead and say it then. Mostly it's just because Shake It Off. I guess I've just had a long history of choosing very poorly when to use it, because I'll either just get shattered before the effect ends, or I'll get released and killed very quickly.
The potential for being released out of something before your Shake It Off triggers, or even worse, having your Shake It Off released. Because if you're frozen or stunned, an opposing caster can come up and hit you with a regular release and then choose to remove your Shake It Off. Or they can use greater release on you when you've got any state and just remove it. It's rather annoying, but such is the way of things.
And I personally just recently became level 6, so I started to actually get to use my Shake It Off in battle. And it is advantageous. But as Haraldr says, it is hard to figure out when to use it. I personally think I'd only ever use it if I'm stunned, because that's the one that most of the melee line can murder me instantaneously.
The one I've used it against most is actually Awe.
Ooh.
Because it doesn't have to remove a state, it can also remove an effect like Awe or Insult.
Ooh, that's a really good idea to use it on off.
One of my favorite memories of using it is at Gathering of the Crowns, or GOTC, several years ago, and there was a paladin on the enemy team. He would hit me with Awe anytime I got into range of the melee line. I would drop back my 20 feet, I'd pop Shake It Off, and I main a Necro Priest healer right now because I've got some shoulder issues that make it tough for me to armor up. But for me, charge 3 is about 10 seconds. So I would pop back, I'd start recharging, and about the time I'd got done recharging, that Awe would be gone because Shake It Off, and I'd be back into the fight far, far faster than the Paladin expected me to.
Now the recharge chant for it is the same as all other recharges, isn't it? Because the recharge is universal, isn't it?
Right, there is one charge incant, That's out of battle. I pause to rest. I take some time to catch my breath. Return to me my fleeting power to aid me in my darkest hour. Nothing varies from that particular formula. The only variation is how many times you have to say it per or to regain an
Some are
ability.
charge 2, a lot are charge 3, some are more charges, aren't they?
It's charge 2s.
I don't believe there's anything less than a charge
it's like 3,
3
5,
at the
10.
moment.
Okay.
3, 5, 10. There's one effect in the game that's 30, but that's paired with an enchantment, and we'll get into that probably when we do the enchantments episode.
But being able to recharge it makes it very powerful as well.
Yes, and while we're talking about recharge, just to make sure everyone's aware, you have to declare what you're recharging before and after you do the charge incantation. So when I'm, what is it just once, or I thought it was before for sure.
I think it's just before, but it's also not quite as big of a deal with Warrior since we've only got the one rechargeable ability. Like we said last episode, you want to catch casters on their mistakes, so you don't want to make mistakes of your own.
So you would essentially just say recharging, shake it off, and then start your chant.
Yeah, so you'd be like,
I just state the name of the ability, but yeah, that's basically it. You recharge, or you say what you're doing, you say the charge incant X number of times, you get one use of the ability back.
Which is nice, though, because it allows us to continuously have one shake it off set up. So,
Right. And if we had more shake it offs per refresh, we would still only have the ability to recharge one of them.
So if you had 3, you could only recharge 1.
Right, and you would have to have burned through all 3 to be able to use, or before you could start charging it. This is a really solid ability. Haraldr, you want to start talking about kind of your issues or your meat with it?
Shake it off is great, right? You get frozen, you get stunned, or as long as it's a singular thing, right? Frozen, stunned, you get stopped. Most cases, it's like you're running up on a caster and they're like, okay, ping, ice ball. I can stop thinking about you for 60 seconds and they turn, right? But nah, you cast your shake it off, you come out in 10, and either they need to now pay attention to you again, or they are not paying attention to you and you can just get them. But if they're a caster really worth their salt, the second you cast a shake it off, especially if you're frozen or stunned where you can't actively respond to what they're doing, they're gonna come up, they're gonna stand behind you, they're gonna release you, and they're gonna drum roll your back. So then it's maybe wait for them to move on unless they're staring you down, right? Or just don't even do it, just take the breather. That's the end of my bit.
That's what I use a lot of effects for, is take the 60-second breather to catch my breath back, and now you've essentially given me a break on the field where you either had to burn a spell to kill me or just left me there as a statue to catch my breath back, and now I come back at you 110%.
Right, you've got to balance, as the incant says, catch your breath versus getting time in there to get kills or to hold the line or whatever you're doing.
Still a really good idea, though, to not rely on shake it off, too. Actively dodge what you can dodge.
Right.
Don't be lazy in your armor. Yep. Don't be lazy in your armor.
Best block is not be there.
That has been a hard thing for me to learn. As soon as I put my armor on as a new warrior, I started going lax on my footwork, and I've noticed it gets me killed often.
Yeah, it's really tempting to want to just stand there and let your armor do the work for you. But for me, there was a story from before I started playing Warrior even. There was a dude named Beefy at my home park, and there was a park that met incredibly close to where we met, and we would occasionally do combined practices. Well, they had a guy named Wolf who he was wearing 6 points of armor, and Beefy was just kind of facing off against somebody else on a battlefield line, and occasionally throws a shot at Wolf, just to kind of keep Wolf away. Well, due to bad footwork and bad defense, Beefy's not even paying attention to him, and he hears Wolf called dead because, oh wait, I've hit this guy who's not really defending himself, and he's just letting his armor take it 7 times. Wow, okay.
Dang.
That's an old V7 story, and I think it might have actually happened before I started playing, so.
Yeah, the best situation with armor is you really only allow them to take 1 point, so you can scavenge it back.
You gotta make,
Right, trading with armor is
gotta
one
make
thing.
those good trades.
Back in the days of V7, we were in a quest game, and I traded a lot of armor to recover a wizard's SOA, Sphere of Annihilation Ball, for him, and normally that would have been a bad trade, but the monsters we were fighting could basically only be affected by magic, so getting an SOA back that gave us a shot at insta-killing one of them versus me being a meat shield, sacking a few armor points was worth it.
I mean, I even remember a situation at the Neverwinter. I think it was Midrain or Coronation, when myself and Haraldr were on the Lost Boy team, and I teleported over to Sir Kazan first, and he hit me with a stun, and he waited roughly about 10 seconds before he charged me. And if I had used Shake It Off, Haraldr would have dropped in behind me, and he would have had 2 very heavily armored warriors to fend off against. Instead, I'd completely forgotten about Shake It Off, and he walked up and just killed me really quickly. And then I believe he got you too, didn't he, Haraldr?
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, this wasn't a Neverwinter. This was Winter's Edge, Midrain.
Oh yeah, Winter's Edge.
Um,
Sorry.
Yeah, but I actually got into that situation already having used a True Grit after getting whittled down at the teleporter. So it wasn't going to go well for me either way.
But it still would have been
And let's not forget that Kazan is a real-life ninja.
absolutely.
Dude, I've been to his house and I've seen his I think like 2001 or 1999 World Championship martial art trophy.
If you haven't listened to the Whack podcast, Kazan's first episode, they tell some stories about old school, early 2000s Amtgard hazing and how Kazan got out of being the target of it, basically by being a ninja.
Yeah, even armor against somebody who is very skilled. If you're not actively blocking, actively using all of your abilities, it still becomes very one-sided, especially for
Skill and teamwork are almost always going to be the deciding factors in this game, but
most certainly is.
All right, so I think like the meat of what we really need to get into is like, when is it actually good to use Shake It Off? Because when we're talking about like all the wrong times we've picked to use it, the less advantageous times to use it. So when do we think are good times to use Shake It Off?
my opinion on that is when you're going to be out of... Casters aren't typically going to want to burn a greater release on you to get rid of Shake It Off. That's not a good trade for them. Typically, G release is a charge 10, if they've made it chargeable at all. I don't believe Wizard has G release on their list. I'll have to double check real quick. So that means they're going to have to get into melee with you if they're going to release you. So you're going to want to use it when, Wizard doesn't even have G release at all. So you want to use Shake It Off when your opponent's not going to be able to come up and just release you and drum roll you. That means either your teammates are going to be able to cover you, or it's something that's put you out of reasonable melee distance. Additionally, they can't just come up and release you out of it if you're stopped, because you're able to defend yourself. Right. And you can't use a touch range spell on an opponent if they are able to defend themselves. They have to be stunned, in sub, or frozen for you to be able to use a release on them, or a regular release. So for us as a warrior, that means if we're somewhere where our teammates can cover us, or we're somewhere where the enemy can't get to us just because of regular distance.
Kind of.
At least that's my take.
I would say kind of, in my opinion, from what I've seen so far, stunned always seems to be one of the worst states a warrior can be in, because you just become a standing target that cannot defend itself.
Yeah, stunned is very, very much a chuckles, I'm in danger.
Yes. That is why 9 times out of 10, if I'm ever in any kind of battle game situation, I try to use Shake It Off to remove the stunned effect as long as I can get it off properly, without getting drum rolled. I won't waste it if I know I'm going to get drum rolled really quick and die. But stunned is the scariest feature to me as a warrior, at least in my opinion, as a new upcoming warrior, because it's a state that just scares the living daylights out of me. Makes my armor worthless.
Yeah.
Stunned is definitely the worst state to get hit with in the game.
And from what I understand, most caster classes have a stun. Druids, bards, no, maybe not druids. I know bards do, and wizards do for sure.
Not only healers had it, really.
Healer has it both as a spell ball at level 5 with abeyance, and as a per refresh verbal at level 6. Bard, I believe, has it as well. Yeah, Bard also has it as a per refresh verbal at level 6.
Yep.
I don't believe anyone else has stun on their list. Frozen is actually where I tend to use this a lot, because it pairs really well with my own True Grit. If I'm using True Grit, odds are good that I'm in a forward position, and I think I'm going to be ignored for a while, rather than just being shattered out of True Grit. So, I'll go ahead and use this to reduce the duration of the True Grit.
Yes, using it in conjunction with True Grit is very, very powerful, I think.
Wait, you can do that?
Yep.
Absolutely.
I did not know that you could shake it off your own True Grit and change it to a 10-second timer.
Oh, yeah.
That
I
is
think
fantastic.
Yeah, I think actually for a little while I had a problem of always shaking it off with the True Grit. So I just say, like, look, if when I pursue, I shall overcome automatically.
Yeah, there was a point in time where they might as well have been one combo spell for me as well. When that kind of changed in my mind was actually that game at Gotsy where messing with the paladin.
So that effectively allows you to twice during a battle game to have a 10-second respawn timer.
Assuming that you've got the ability to recharge your True Grit, or not your True Grit, your Shake It Off, absolutely. You still have to find the time to get that recharge off. And you can either recharge by the standard methods, a bard can give it back to you, or if you've got the Void Touched enchant, you can recharge via your Steel Life that you gain from Void Touched.
Okay. And now, when you do use True Grit, your Shield Harden and Ancestral vanish, correct? Yeah.
Correct. Unless you've got some way to make them persistent, which would be weird. At least weird to be used in combination with True Grit. The only way that springs to my mind immediately of making them both persistent is Golem, but Golem makes it so that you can't use either True Grit or Shake It Off. So
Yes, you can no longer be enchantable, or you can no longer use your abilities, I believe.
no, they are Spirit School abilities, and part of Golem is it curses you, which makes you
Yeah,
immune to Spirit.
that's what I was trying to say. That's what I meant. Is I knew that there was a reason why. I forgot that Golem curses you.
Personally, I think it's a worthwhile trade-off, but there are people who will argue it both ways.
I mean, keeping Ancestral and Harden consistently seems pretty nice because it allows you, when you do your respawns, you don't have that stoppage to harden and cast Ancestral.
More importantly, you've got a limited number of uses of Ancestral. But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves and off topic here, so. Renn, have you, other than against Stun in Arnyek versus Arnyek the other day, have you gotten to use Shake It Off a lot?
Yes, I used Shake It Off in Radiant Valley. I believe I was hit with, I can't remember what the spell was, but I did use Shake It Off, and that game mode we had half timers on everything, so Shake It Off was 5 seconds.
Oof.
So it was very, very quick, and I mean, in 5 seconds time, if we ever have that half respawn timer, 9 times out of 10, the caster that hits you with something is not going to have the speed to release that.
No, 5 seconds is an almost instantaneous timer as far as our game is concerned.
And I remember I got hit with some kind of state, and I was out of it in seconds and actually took a kill for it. So all right, I got a kill for it, and then a scavenge as well. So it benefited me very, very well using it in that regard. But those are really the only two instances I've had to use Shake It Off. I think I was too low level, and then at the Winter's Edge, some of the Kingdom events, I was so low leveled I had never even thought of using it when they made us all 6 level. So it was something that just never came to mind. But I can see the advantageous uses of it just by getting out of states, and getting back into the fray, especially in an objective game where you're moving mountain doesn't need to be stationary. You need to be somewhere where the objective is. Shake It Off becomes very beneficial.
One of the things my dad always told me was that a stationary tank is a dead tank. If you don't keep moving, you're going to get surrounded, you're going to get outflanked, and you're going to get drumrolled. I like to use it against CCs that inflict effects rather than states. What I mean by that is something like Awe or Insult, as opposed to Ice Ball or Abeyance Ball. People aren't going to expect you to use it against things like Awe or Insult or Terror or Agoraphobia. They're going to expect those to be get the full 30 seconds out of that. Insult is probably the weakest one to use it on, because Insult has a built-in removal of it, in that
I mean, it seems like it would be really beneficial to use against things like Awe and Terror, because normally when a caster uses Awe, like you said, they don't expect you to drop it or drop a Shake It Off on it. So anytime I've had a caster use Awe or Terror on me, they always stop paying attention to me entirely.
It seems like the Galaxy brain play here is just use it on effects instead of statuses.
exactly, and you're playing against their preconceived notion of what is going to happen. That's definitely how I use it. It's
If I if I had known that if I had remembered to use it against effects versus just states at some of the coronation or some of the kingdom events, I definitely would have gotten a few more kills and been a little more dangerous. Because 9 times out of 10, when a caster hit me with it, they just stopped looking at me. They knew that I couldn't come near them. So all of a sudden, I come near them and say, I shook it off. Now they're in danger.
probably the most dangerous thing to have in Amtgard, besides tunnel vision, is preconceived notions of what your opponent is going to do, because your opponent is always going to do something that you don't expect. Part of what keeps the game fun. So if you can do something that throws off what your opponent is expecting, that will really make your life a lot easier.
Right. Yeah, I guess problem with doors.
For those of
Don't
us that are
understand.
concerned with doorways, anyway.
Sometimes.
Not all of us have the ability to just smash the doors open.
That sounds really cool.
Next time you come to
Honestly,
Town
sounds very
Heraldr, we need to
interesting.
take you to the Honest Pint. Their entire ceiling is covered in old doors. It's a really neat place. But
Right.
back on topic, I've kind of told my only good story about Shake It Off, because most of them are just kind of, okay, I removed a state. That's great.
It's not the groundbreakingly like I've come back from the dead surprise type thing like True Grit.
I mean, just learning that I can use Shake It Off on True Grit opens up a lot of
Right.
opportunities. To have a 10-second respawner right there on spot. If you're far enough on an objective game and you're far enough away from your respawn, it's a lot of time gone. Pairing Shake It Off with True Grit seems like something I would have never thought on my own. So it's something I've learned that I think will be very, very good.
Right. And my favorite True Grit story, I didn't actually pair it with Shake It Off, because I wanted the 30-second or the 30-second breather.
Yeah, it's not too flashy, but does exactly what it says, and it's a very solid, important part of a warrior abilities.
I tend to agree. It's a very good ability. I sacrifice it a lot because my favorite enchantment is Golem. Spoiler for the enchantment episode that we're going to be doing in a couple of months. But Shake It Off is a solid ability. It's one of the honestly, I think it's underrated. Honestly, I feel like that's a lot of Warrior overall, just how we fit into the meta. There's very little we have that is flashy, but it's almost all solid. It all works well towards kind of a unified theme. I think the only non-caster that is better at having a unified theme and having everything go towards that theme than we are is Archer. And like I said last episode, Archer is Spellball Wizard on a stick. So I think on that note, this month's episode is probably going to be short if you guys don't have anything else to add.
Nope. Not on my side either.
Yeah, I ain't got nothing.
All right, well, next month we will be, rather than continuing on to the level 6 ability, we will be joined by Renn. She is a Paragon warrior out of Northern Lights, and we'll be getting stories from her about her experiences playing warrior and how she enjoys the class.
Fantastic.
Right.
Look forward to seeing everyone in the next episode, and I'll catch you all on the next time.
Be safe out there. Fight well.
Bye, everyone.